Hey there everyone, and welcome to Bill's Retro Gaming Show. On today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Class of '81 Deluxe Arcade game from Arcade1up. So put on your best suit, grab a drink, and see if you can awkwardly impress your old high school crush, because it's time for a reunion. The Class of '81 Deluxe was originally announced by Arcade1up during CES of 2023 and officially released later that spring. It was among the first cabinets unveiled by Arcade1up in their new Riserless Deluxe line. This version is a re-release of an earlier cab from Arcade1up, redesigned for their new Deluxe format, and while it shares many of the same features as that earlier cab, there are a few significant differences. This new form factor has come a long way in mimicking the look of the original arcade cabinet. Released by Namco in 2000, the original Class of 1981 arcade cabinet was meant to be a 20-year reunion celebrating the games Ms. Pac-Man and Galaga. Both games were selectable on the original machine, and arcade owners could choose to have it play a sped-up version of Ms. Pac-Man and a rapid-fire version of Galaga. In addition, there was a cheat code that players could enter to allow them to play the original Pac-Man game as well. Now, while the Arcade1up version does have settings to allow you to play fast versions of Ms. Pac-Man and Fast Fire on Galaga, unfortunately there is no way to get the original Pac-Man game playable. It does, however, have 10 other games included that the OG cab did not, but I'll get into that later on in the review. Now, looking over the cab, and starting at the top, we have a beautiful looking Marquee. The colors and black levels look great here, and it comes very close to recreating the original arcade game's Marquee. Unfortunately, there are a couple of things missing here, including the Namco logo and the 20-year reunion text above Ms. Pac-Man. But beyond that, the Marquee itself looks great. These new deluxe cabs have done away with upright monitors in favor of a slanted monitor that better represents the way the original arcade cabinet looked. It sits in a great position when you're playing the game, and it feeds into that nostalgia of feeling like you're back in the arcade playing the original machines. Now, the monitor itself is a BOE branded 17-inch LCD monitor. It's a good looking monitor, and I see no issues with fading or discoloring while playing the games. Above the monitor are the speakers. Now, I like the new look of the speakers being used in the deluxe cabs as opposed to the older hidden speakers. The only complaint I have with this particular cab is that there appears to be a humming sound coming from them while on the menu screen. However, once you're in the game, the humming goes away, and while playing, the speakers sound just fine. Moving down to the control panel, the layout is very similar to the original arcade and the first release of Class of '81 from Arcade1up. Now, one difference between this and the original Arcade1up release is that they have removed the headphone jack. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing, considering that some people have reported issues that could be related to the headphone jack on some older Arcade1up cabs. One other note here, and this may just be a pet peeve on my part, but I wish Arcade1up would be more consistent when it comes to their power switches. This cab uses a soft switch, meaning you push the switch to the right to turn it on and to the left to turn it off, and the switch mechanism always returns to the middle position. Personally, I prefer the way some of their other cabs work, where whichever position the switch is in, on or off, is where the mechanism stays. Now, it works in either case, but it just goes to some of the inconsistencies from one cab build to the next. Now, I'm sure it's done so they can use the same type of switch as the volume control and save on bulk purchasing, but it still bugs me. On a positive note, they have also pushed out the control panel waterfall design to better reflect the look and feel of the original arcade cabinet. Moving down, we have the kick panel with art that, again, mimics the original arcade cabinet. Now, this version includes a molded coin door that was missing from Arcade1up's original release. The only thing that would improve the look would be if Arcade1up would include light-up coin buttons on all of their cabs. It's a little thing, but it just adds to the overall aesthetic look, at least in my opinion. The sides of this cab are designed based on the two Marquee games, Ms. Pac-Man and Galaga, just like the original arcade machine. Now, both sides look great with fantastic artwork reminiscent of the actual arcade. And luckily, these new deluxe cabs include screw covers in the proper colors to give it a finished, clean look. Moving on to the games list, this cab includes 12 games. Now the list is the same as the original Class of 81 released from Arcade1up, and this is where I think they missed an opportunity. The games included are Ms. Pac-Man, Dig Dug 2, Galaga, Galaga 88, Galaxian, Mappy, Rally X, Rolling Thunder, Rompers, Tower of Druaga, and King and Balloon. Now, most of the newer machines being released in the deluxe line have 14 games included. This would have been a good chance to freshen up the games list, or at least add 2 more to bump it up to 14, and give some people a more compelling reason to upgrade from the original release. It's a shame that they didn't add games like Ga Plus, which is another in the Galaxian Galaga franchise, and perhaps one more like Bosconian or Xevious, which were on a Galaga Partycade released a while back, but never on a 3/4 scale cab. And let's face it, they could have dropped Tower of Druaga for a better game as well. I still don't get that game, but maybe that's just me. All of the games have their own settings menu where you can change things like number of lives, bonus levels, and difficulty. And yes, this is where you can set fast mode for Ms. Pac-Man and fast fire for Galaga. In addition, you can turn the dreaded smoothing feature on and off for each game. One thing that is missing here though is a scan lines option. I know, some people like them and some hate them, just like that smoothing option. But it's a feature that I wish they would have included here, as they do for many of their other cabs. Now lastly, there is a live button on the control panel that will get you into the Wi-Fi features of the cab. Here, you can set up your Wi-Fi connection and also connect to the Arcade1up app if you have it. Now if you do, then you can view your high scores within the app at any time, as well as on the cab itself. This is a great feature and a great use of their app that I hope continues to extend to all of their Wi-Fi enabled cabs. Here's a quick look at the included games, and I'm going to apologize for the viewing angle. As much as I love the slanted screen when playing, it doesn't make for great gameplay capturing. Now, come on, Arcade1up, give us HDMI out already for gameplay capture. And there you have it. That's my review of Class of 81 from Arcade1up. However, I thought it was important to end this video by talking about my journey with this particular cab. Now, I had originally bought this back during the Black Friday sales that were going on. I bought it from Best Buy because they had it on sale. It was a good deal. I picked it up. I got it home, put it all together. Everything seemed fine, but over a couple of days, I started to notice some issues. The first issue being with the Wi-Fi, that from time to time it wouldn't connect automatically. Whenever I turned the machine on, I would have to go in and reconnect to my Wi-Fi, put in my password, all that stuff, and then it would connect and it would be just fine. But the bigger issue I had to do with the volume control. Now, at first it seemed fine, but over time, it's like the switch just started to degrade immediately. It would work sometimes. It would work if I really kind of fiddled with it. I had to take the power switch and move it all the way to the on position, and then I could kind of move the volume control and it would work. And then over time, it just completely stopped working altogether. There was nothing I could do. I could not turn the volume up or down. So I reached out to Arcade1up's tech support to see what they could do. The first thing they said to do was a factory reset, which did nothing but reset the whole machine and screw up other stuff. So I continued to work with them. They wanted me to do some settings checks with the Wi-Fi, and then they actually wanted me to pull the control panel apart and check the connecting wires and everything for the volume control and make sure everything looked like it was connected all right. Now, one of the things I love about this cab and some of the new Arcade1ups is that slanted screen design. There is, however, one downside to this particular design, and that is that the monitor and control panel are all one piece, one connected piece. So it's not like some of the other arcade machines where you can just unscrew and pull apart the control panel, unconnect the wiring, the ribbon wire that goes to it, and get to the control panel and look at it. I actually had to half pull apart the cab so I could pull out the monitor and control panel all together in order to open up the control panel and take a look at it. Now, I did that and everything looked like it was fine. I couldn't notice anything, so I figured it was either just a bad switch in general or a short in a wire connection somewhere within there. Not something I was going to be able to fix myself, not easily. So at this point, I figured I had two options. I could either continue with Arcade1up's tech support and hope at some point they're just going to, throw their hands up and say, okay, we'll send you a new cab, or we'll send you a new monitor control panel assembly, or just return the thing to Best Buy and get a whole brand new one. Now, the nice thing about getting it from Best Buy during the holidays is that they had an extended return policy. Normally, I think they give you like 15 days. This was something like 30 or 45 days. It went to well after the Christmas time because they figure you're buying things as gifts for people. They want to give people who may be getting something as a gift time to return it if they don't want it or have an issue. So since I had the cab half apart anyway to look at the control panel, I figured, you know what, the heck with it. I'll take the whole thing apart. I'll throw it back in the box. Luckily, I held on to it. Bring it back to them. Get a new unit. See what that does for me. And that's what the one you saw today is. This is actually the second one that I got from Best Buy. Now, the good news is the volume control works perfectly on it. No issues at all. Unfortunately, there does still seem to be a problem with the Wi-Fi, but it is less often than it was in the original cab I had. Occasionally, when I go to turn it on, especially if I haven't had the machine on for several days, because a lot of times I'll only turn them on to play on the weekend. I don't have a lot of time during the week. I will have to go in and reconnect to the Wi-Fi. Again, it takes a couple of minutes, so it's not that big of a deal to me. It's not a deal breaker that I would get rid of this machine. But I wanted to put this out there because it does seem to be an issue only with this particular machine. I have several other Arcade1ups that are Wi-Fi connected. None of them have this issue. Once I set up the Wi-Fi, done, works every time. So I don't know what it is about this one. Maybe it's something they can fix in a software patch. Maybe it's something within the software and not necessarily the Wi-Fi hardware itself. Not really sure. But look, Arcade1up, if you happen to be watching this, which I doubt, but if you are, this is now 2 that I've had with that issue. Maybe some of you out there have noticed something similar. Or if this is a cab that you're thinking about getting, it's something to keep in mind. And it's why I wanted to bring it up here. So now you know about that particular thing. Now, again, before I finish this, I do just want to say one other thing, because look, I know Arcade1up has a lot of detractors out there. There's a lot of things you can say about them when it comes to quality. You can complain that the joystick and the buttons are not always the greatest. You can complain about some of the builds of the machines. And yes, things like this do happen. Now, I'm pretty confident that had I continued with their tech support, eventually they would have resolved my issue, even if it meant sending me a new part. For me, personally, I just felt because I had that extended time, because I had the machine half apart anyway, and because they had it in stock still, it was just easier to return the whole thing and get a new unit than to continue on and maybe get to that point where I couldn't return it anymore and still not have the issue resolved. So I figured it was just easier to return it. Hopefully, tech support, they would have resolved it for me at some point. Can't say that with 100% certainty, but I want to throw that out there. I also want to tell you guys another story, because this just goes to show that it doesn't matter what company you're talking about, whether it's a big company or a small company or whatever. Lots of companies have quality issues with products, especially when you're talking about electronic parts. My daughter bought me a PlayStation 5 for Father's Day this past year. Nice gift, right? It was awesome. We set it up. We were really enjoying it. And after about 2 weeks of owning it, the entire machine died. My daughter was playing it. She was in the middle of a game, and all of a sudden the screen went green and just crapped out completely. Now, I tried a bunch of things that people had said online about the HDMI, changing the cables, changing to different ports, leaving it off for a while, trying to turn it back on to get to a reset mode. Nothing seemed to work at all. It was just dead in the water. I only had it for a couple of weeks, so again, it was still under warranty. I reached out to Sony. They had me send in the unit to them for them to look at, whether they were going to be able to fix it or send me a new one. And within a few weeks, actually it took almost a month before I got it back. And whether they refurbished it or whether they sent me a new one, and I think they sent me a new one, that one seems to be having no issues whatsoever. Fingers crossed so far. I've had it for several months, been playing it, been loving it. No issues. But it just goes to show that even a huge company like Sony can have quality issues from time to time with products they put out. So Arcade1up is not immune to things like that. And don't take this the wrong way. I'm not excusing an issue. I'm not excusing an issue. It was a pain in the ass to have to go through that. And my druthers, I would rather not have to go through it than have gone through it. But it was something that ultimately I was able to resolve by returning it, getting a new one. The new unit I have, for the most part, is fine. Again, that Wi-Fi issue is an issue, but it's something I can live with because it doesn't happen all the time. I wanted to put that out there to you guys so you knew about it. But there you go. That's all I kind of wanted to say about that. I just wanted to throw this out there as a final thing, because I think it's important in a review like this to not gloss over potential issues. Overall, I'm enjoying the cabinet. It's a lot of fun. I do like the games on it. You heard me mention some things that I wish they had done differently in this particular cab. So, I think I'm trying to be as open and honest as I can, as I usually do with this review. And guys, it's out there. So take it for what it is. Take what I've said for what it's worth, and you make your own decision as to whether or not this is a particular one you would be interested in getting. That's it for this one. Again, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, don't forget to give me a like, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and do that. You can ring the notification bell if you want to be notified whenever I put up a new video. And of course, leave me a comment below. Leave me your thoughts on the review. Leave me your thoughts on Class of 81. Do you own it yourself? Have you noticed any of the issues I talked about? Are you thinking about getting it? Has this persuaded you one way or the other? I don't know. Not necessarily what I look to do. I don't necessarily look to persuade people one way or the other. I just look to put my own thoughts and opinions out there, my feelings on a cab, and let you make your own decisions. Hopefully I've accomplished that today and you've enjoyed the video. But that is going to do it for this one. I will see you guys on the next one, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.